Good evening, everyone. Thank you all very much for coming out and giving me the opportunity to spend some time
this evening and share some of my thoughts with you. Colin asked me if I would say a few words to start off the evening, and by few words, this turns out to be 20 minutes and 8 slides. So I think it's important to set expectations and have metrics in place to measure the effectiveness of what you're doing. This is what lawyers get from me. You're going to get it from me as well. When you have an opportunity to bring a group as talented and as disparate and as skilled and from so many wide backgrounds and areas of expertise in one place for one opportunity like this, then you have to ask yourself a critical question at the start, which is, why are we here? Why are we here tonight? Why are we gathered in this spot on a Friday night, right? And it's like Vladivostok out there, you know, with the streets. So what has brought us here tonight for this opportunity? I think the reason we are all here tonight, no matter where we've come from, no matter what we're interested in doing, is one singular reason. And that is that the legal system, the justice system, needs you and needs us. And the need is extraordinary. It is deep, it is wide. We have never before had a sense of the extent to which it exists and the nature of it, nor I don't think has the need ever been as pressing as it is right now. And we have survey data upon survey data to tell us exactly how bad the need is. We have data from across Canada and the United States which tell us that roughly 85% of all individuals who run into legal problems, have legal needs, never turn to a lawyer to get those needs addressed. And part of the reason for that, a certain percentage of that group never turn to a lawyer because either they can't afford a lawyer, or they don't think they can afford a lawyer, which often comes to the same thing, or they don't know where to find a lawyer, one they could trust, one they're comfortable with, what have you, right? But there's another percentage of that group, and this is the more insidious problem. There's another percentage of this group that doesn't even know it has a legal problem. They say, we got a problem. I got some bad thing has happened to me. Some bad circumstance has surrounded me, but they don't know it's legal, and therefore, they don't know there's a remedy. They don't know there's any legal remedy to the problem in which they find themselves. And that is more than just a problem of affordability. That is more than just a problem of access. That's a problem of fundamental awareness. It is not just what we would consider the traditional things such as, oh, you know, I can't afford to go to court and so forth. More than half of all Canadian adults do not have a will. Changes from jurisdiction to jurisdiction, but on average, more than half of all people don't have a valid will. And if you have been in your family or among your friends in a situation where someone has died intestate, then you know that that is incredibly, it's expensive, it is draining, it is incredibly difficult, and yet it's one of the most straightforward, simple things that the law has to offer us. And within courts, we have a growing number of courts across the country which are reporting that more than half of all people who come into their courts do not have a lawyer. And this is obviously a problem in ways we don't fully appreciate, because the courts were never meant for everyday normal people, as I like to call people who aren't lawyers, normal people to come in and conduct their affairs there, right? They are expert systems. They're not meant, like courthouse doors should have those, the step-down transformers, and they got those signs with the lightning bolt saying, do not come in here, you'll electrocute yourself and die, right? Courts should have that, because they are not set up for people who aren't lawyers to work with. The need is deep and it's wide and it's extraordinary. But at the same time, in addition to the need being unprecedented in shape and scope, so is the opportunity. And that's something new as well. And the opportunity comes in many forms. It comes in the form that almost all of you tonight are the most familiar with, in the form of technology. That tech can now do things that 10, 15, 20 years ago was pure science fiction. Technology that can carry out tasks that previously only lawyers could do. And this has not been the happiest development in the world for the legal profession necessarily, but it's a pretty darn good development, I think, for everyone else. And you folks in particular understand the degree to which technology can make a difference and does make a difference every day. So now we have a toolkit, the likes of which we have not experienced before, at our disposal. At the same time, regulatory barriers, regulatory controls over the provision of legal services are weakening in every jurisdiction. And what this comes to is, well-meaning as it may have been, well-intentioned as it often was, the efforts of regulatory authorities to kind of hold back the waves, hold back this incredible flood of opportunities and services and alternative providers to come into the market, those barriers are giving way. And so now we have opportunities there that we've never seen before. But you know what the most remarkable thing is? The most remarkable aspect of this opportunity is this. The incumbent members of the legal market, the legal profession, lawyers and judges and courts, are actually saying to the world at large, we need some help. We can't do this ourselves. If you are not a lawyer yourself, or you are not directly related to one, you may not appreciate how hard it is for lawyers to say that. Okay? If you ever meet a lawyer, and if you wondered who the smartest person in the room is, wonder no longer, because the lawyer will be happy to tell you that you are in that person's presence. The industry is saying to the world at large, we're ready for help. Not all of us, not all to the same extent, not in every area, but to a degree I haven't seen before. There are hackathons taking place in 40 cities around the world tonight and this weekend and so forth. And I'll tell you what, 5 years, 10 years now, it's going to be 400 if it takes that long. Because the industry is asking for help, and the industry needs the help. All of this is great, but there are still significant challenges. And the main challenge, to my mind, is that many of the problems that the legal profession is running into are not simple, straightforward issues that we can attach fairly simple, straightforward answers to. They are deep, they are complex, they are systemic. I mentioned earlier this idea of courts being expert systems, right? Courts are not going to stop being expert systems anytime soon. If you've dealt with the courts in any way, you know that changing the way a court or a judicial system works, I mean, changing a law firm is like changing the wallpaper compared to that. It's incredibly difficult. Again, they're not set up for that. But even the simplest, most straightforward aspects, the way lawyers bill their work. Most lawyers, for many aspects, will bill their work on an hourly basis, as you know. My rate is $200 per hour, and I will work how many hours it is, and that's fine. This is going to be your rate. And lawyers don't fully appreciate what a barrier to access that is. Because for most people, when I talk to people who buy legal services, they get that lawyers are expensive. They get that lawyers are a high-quality, important prospect. Okay, we understand that. It's not the quantum, it's the uncertainty. I don't know how much this is going to cost. Can you think of anything you buy in your life that you have no idea what the price is before you buy it? My friends at Gowling's law firm here in Ottawa who have a great advertisement that says, would you fly an airline that doesn't give you the fare until you land at your destination? Right? These are systemic problems, and they need systemic solutions. It would be great. It would be wonderful if we could program our way out of this, code our way out of this. And we can code our way in some distance. There's no question in my mind about that, but we're going to need more than just that. In the parlance of the day, the problems the legal market is facing are wicked problems. Complex, difficult, and perhaps most frustrating of all, the solutions to these kinds of problems are not complete. They're not perfect, right? If you solve them, you're going to leave a few issues not dealt with. If you solve them, a few other problems are going to come up. Again, back to the wallpaper. Who uses wallpaper? Well, I'm using that analogy. But if you still use wallpaper, if it's the year 1953, and you push on wallpaper, right, and you kind of press it down, little bubble pops up somewhere else, because that's what wallpaper does, right? Wallpaper is a wicked problem. We had no idea we had these beforehand. So that is the nature of our need. That is the opportunity we have in front of us, and that is the nature of the challenge that is built into it. So do we have a shot at this? I kind of think we do. And we have a shot at this for a bunch of reasons. And the most important reason to start off with is that we have outsiders. Thank you. For everybody here who is not a lawyer, thank you. Do you know, by the way, if you're not a lawyer, do you know how lawyers refer to you? You're a non-lawyer. Lawyers, only people I've ever met who separate the world into us and not us, right? The first day you meet a non-plumber or a non-nurse, let me know, because I don't run into these people in my line of work. If you're not a lawyer, you come into this unencumbered, unburdened by all of the assumptions and the experiences and the blinders that lawyers, as wonderful as we are, as charming and delightful and useful in a crisis as we are, we don't see stuff. We have the same kind of blind spots, and you will be able to see things that we can't. That ability is going to be critical to this whole process, to see things that we can't. You have an appreciation of what technology can do. I assure you, most lawyers do not, right? Most lawyers are like me. The very first line of code I ever wrote in my life, and the last line of code I ever wrote in my life was on a Radio Shack TRS-80 color computer, okay? And they said to me in Computer Science 2602, they said, you know what, if you can just learn BASIC and Fortran, the world is your oyster. Well, they weren't exactly right about that. But lawyers have this thing of we've always done it this way. And that is crippling, right? Because you go to a lawyer and you say, listen, I got this really good idea for something. And the lawyer says, well, I don't know. Well, we tried that once and it didn't work. And I don't want to try it again. You know? And this is the problem. People will tell you lawyers are risk averse. That is true. What they don't tell you is what lawyers actually are. Lawyers are embarrassment averse. Lawyers hate looking bad, right? So you come into this and you give us a perspective and a depth of knowledge and expertise and skills we don't have and we desperately need. So thank you for being part of this. But I'll tell you something else. From experience, lawyers can't do this alone. Judges can't do this alone. Law students and law deans can't do it alone, nor can hackers, nor can programmers do it alone. And we shouldn't expect that we can, and we shouldn't, and I don't think you labor under that misapprehension, but in case you do, don't feel that you need to. Because in addition to outsiders, we also have insiders, right? Luckily, we have, and it is useful to have some insiders involved in this. And the most important insiders are clients. Or as the rest of the world calls them, customers. Or as you would call them, users. The people who actually wind up on the business end of everything we're doing, right? Talk to clients, talk to users, talk to buyers, talk to people who would like to be clients but can't, or don't realize that they could be, right? They are critical, they are the end users. I don't have to explain to this group in particular the importance of the end user and programming, designing for the end user. It is critical that we have that. But you know, we've also got lawyers, and that's a good thing. If there's any lawyers here still talking to me afterwards, I want to assure you, it's a good thing. Because lawyers have expertise and lawyers have experience, but lawyers know where the bridge is out and where the bridge is connected, right? When the lawyer says, well, this didn't work the last time, the thing is the lawyer can tell you, in most cases, why it didn't work last time, right? And that saves us from trying to, doing the same thing 5, 10, 15 times again. Because now, okay, well, actually, now we know why it didn't work last time. Let's try something different. Try it a little bit differently. Lawyers are great problem solvers. Lawyers love solving puzzles. Again, if you're ever dealing with a lawyer, you want to keep a lawyer happy, throw them a crossword or a Sudoku. They won't talk to you for ages. And courts and judges, extraordinarily important for all the obvious reasons, but maybe for the less obvious reasons, courts bring authority over the entire justice system, right? Courts are the people to whom lawyers report. Here's an easy way to fail a legal ethics exam if you're a lawyer, and someone asks you, to whom does a lawyer owe his or her highest duty? And if you answer the client, then y'all got to go back and take Ethics 101 again, because the lawyer's highest duty is to the court and to the rule of law. And we all took an oath to that effect. And so the courts have control and charge over us fundamentally at the end of the day. You know what else judges have? You know what else courts have? Courts have bailiffs. Courts can call the cops on you. Courts have the enforcement arm of the executive part of the government. The court can say to you, I hold you in contempt of me. And here's this nice gentleman who's going to tell you what the next 48 hours are going to look like for you as a result of that. Courts are incredibly important. Talk to the judges, talk to the courts, talk to court staff, people on the front line. Those are the insiders. Then there are the contributors. The other people, the other players in this market, law schools. There are law students here tonight, I am sure. And the law students in the law schools are training the people who are going to be solving these problems tomorrow. And they need to know, number one, what skills do these students need? What do we need to equip them with before we send them out into the world to deal with people and to deal with everything that's going on, right? But they also can tell you, this is how lawyers learn. This is how lawyers think. The one thing you know what we learned? The first month, we were told 2 days into law school, the prof comes up to us and says, you're going to learn how to think like a lawyer. And it's true. Oh my God, it changes everything about your world. You see the whole world differently. You know, the problem is that they don't tell you how to stop. All right? I can't stop thinking like a lawyer. It's incredibly problematic at parties. Law schools are here to help us out. Governments, there are people from the government here tonight, and the government is amazing because government lawyers are themselves, of course, lawyers, and they have clients of their own. But they're also clients themselves because they buy legal services from somewhere else. And they, of course, are the exemplification of the public interest in our lives. And we have corporations and public interests. We have companies like IBM, obviously here this evening, which I will tell you quite honestly, amongst all companies in the non-law traditional space, is probably further ahead than anybody else in developing solutions through the use primarily of artificial intelligence, but not exclusively. Groups like Invest Ottawa, Colin mentioned earlier that we're very lucky to have their space, but Invest Ottawa also is in a position where they can support and do support local businesses, local startups. What's the tagline? We bring Ottawa to the world and the world to Ottawa, which is what we need, right? That's part of the whole global legal hackathon thing. We are bringing the world to Ottawa and going the other direction as well. That's who we got. We got a lot of talent. We have a lot of skill. We have a lot of opportunity. You pull all this together, you know what you end up with? You got collaboration. You got the entire orchestra coming together and saying, what are we going to play, guys? What are we going to pull together tonight and tomorrow and the next day and next week and next year to make this work better? We can solve the legal profession's problems if we work together. If we are building on what everybody brings to the table. We need everyone around the table, right? Because we need to learn from each other. We need to teach each other what we need to know. And we need to build something which is greater than the sum of its parts. Something that individually we can't pull together, but if we pull ourselves together in one place and talk and program and write things on these cool whiteboards, then we'll actually start making our way towards the solutions that we need. And we can start to establish and further grow this legal innovation community, because you know what? That legal innovation community is right here, right now. What's the rest of it? Watching the world wake up from history? Oh, that's a terrible line. Never mind that part. But this is us, right? This is this community. Not all of it, but part of it, and the core part of it. And we're going to be the ones that are going to lead this process forward, and we can lead this process forward. What we start here tonight, what we start here this weekend doesn't end here tonight, doesn't end here this weekend. I'm looking forward to seeing what comes out of tonight. The prototypes and the possibilities and the suggestions and the recommendations. What I'm really looking forward to is doing this again next year, and the year after that, and the year after that. Because the legal system, the justice system needs us tonight. So I want to wish you every success in all your efforts this evening, in everything that you're doing. And I want to tell you, if you're ever wondering why we're here tonight on a Friday in upstate Vladivostok, the reason we're here is that our audience is waiting for us. Let's go blow their doors off. Thank you so much.